Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Chris of LightandJoyDesigns, and today I'm going to teach you how to make the four square trivets. It's a cute little project that's very easy. It combines a little bit of Tunisian crochet and a little bit of regular crochet, and you can make it in lots of fun colors, and you can also make the corresponding coasters to go right along with it. So let's get started. So the materials that you're going to need for this project will be 4 different colors for the squares, and then a contrasting color for the trim. Now you could use you could use 8 different colors if you wanted to. You could use 6 different colors. You can do whatever combination you like. It's up to you. You'll need a crochet hook. I'm using a J 6.0 millimeter hook, and the yarn that I'm using is Crafter's Secret in Spa Blue, Turquoise, Periwinkle, Vintage Green, and then this Lily Sugar and Cream in, I believe it's Orchid. Yeah. So those are the colors that I'm using. If you want to make the exact same one as me, you'll need a scissors, a yarn needle, and possibly some stitch markers. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you're going to want to map out your colors ahead of time so that you get a look that you want. So the way you can do that is you can just take a pen and pencil and make your 4 colors. And you might, if you're using 4 colors, you can go A, B, C, and D. And then you can choose which one you want to be the trim. So for A, I chose C. For the B, I chose D. For the C, I chose A, and for the D, I chose B. So, and then you'll have your 5th color, your E color would just be your trim color that will go across and around. But again, you can do this in any colors that you want. Maybe you just use 2 colors and you switch them back and forth. It's totally up to you. You can have fun with it. Another thing that you can do with this pattern is you could make additional squares and make it also into a placemat. So you could have a full set with placemat, trivet, and coasters. Would make a really nice gift set. Okay, so we're going to start with these 2 colors. This is going to be my center color, and this is going to be my trim color. So we're going to start by making a slip knot. Just make a loop, cross over, and then pull another loop up through the center. Put that on our hook. And again, I'm using a J hook. You can use any size hook you want, but it will be smaller or larger depending on the hook size and yarn size that you use. So we're going to start by making 10 chains. So to chain, you're just going to yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. We're going to do that 10 times. And then we're going to pull up loops in these back bumps. You can see the chain has V's on the front, and on the back it has these little bumps here. So we're going to skip the first chain because this loop on our hook counts for that chain. And we're going to go into the second one, go into the back bump, pull up on that loop that's on the hook so it's so that all the loops will be the same size. Yarn over and pull up a loop. And we're going to do that in each of the back bumps. each of the chains, and when we're done, we will have 10 loops on our hook. So this is we're going to be using Tunisian Simple Stitch, and for this project you only need a regular crochet hook. You don't have to know how to do Tunisian. It's very, very simple. That's why they call it the Tunisian Simple Stitch. And I kind of just pull those little back bumps sometimes to get under them. It's just this first row that's fiddly, just like any other crochet project. It's just that first row that's a little tricky to get into. Come on, little thread. There we go. All right, so now we should have 10 loops on our hook. We'll count them: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Great. So that was our forward pass. And the way Tunisian crochet works is we always work on the front of the fabric. You go forward in one direction and you do the return pass in the other direction. So for the return pass, we're going to create our edge stitch. So you're going to just yarn over and pull through one. That creates your edge stitch. Now, if you're brand new to Tunisian, what you might want to do is just put a stitch marker into these 2 outer threads, 1, 2, and then here's the inner thread right here. So we're going to go right under those 2 outer threads. We'll just leave that there. All right, so we did yarn over, pull through 1, and then the rest of the way back we're going to do yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2. All the way back to the end. So that's row 1 completed with our forward pass and our return pass. So now this is how you do the next row. You're going to go, this is your first stitch that's on the hook, so you ignore this here. You go into the second stitch, you go under that front vertical bar, and you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. You're going to go under the next vertical bar, yarn over and pull up a loop. See all these vertical bars here? Go under the next one, yarn over, pull up a loop. You're just going to do that all the way along, and when we're done we will again have 10 loops on our hook. So now here we are at the last stitch, at the edge stitch. This is the only tricky part, and once you have it, it's really not hard. So the edge stitch has 3 threads. It has this inside thread right here, and then it has these 2 outside threads, and that's why we put the stitch marker there if you're new. Once you get this, you won't need the stitch marker there anymore. It's very easy. You're going to go under those 2 outside threads, yarn over and pull up your last loop. And our return pass is the same as the last time. We're going to yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, all the way back to the beginning. All right, and so now you're going to do this for a total of 9 rows. So you're going to go forward and back a total of 9 times. So we have 1, 2 completed so far. And if you want, you can just move your your stitch marker up to your end stitch. And again, let me just pull it a little closer here for you. This is our end stitch here. We've got this inside thread and then the 2 outside threads. So I'm just going to mark that, and then I won't miss it when I come to the end. So just do 7 more of those, and I will meet you at the end. Something else to keep in mind with Tunisian crochet is as you're making your loops, you want to make sure that they're all the same size. So let's say you go to start and this loop is a little big and you go under here. Make sure you just kind of tug up on that loop with your finger to make sure that it's, you know, the size of your hook. So all the loops are the same size. Yarn over and pull up that loop. We go under these front bars and, you know, just try and make sure that all the loops are the same size. And that's it. And here we are at the edge stitch again. Again, we've got the 2 outer threads and this inner thread right here. So we're going to go on top of the inner thread and under the outer threads to make our last stitch. And let's take a look at this real closely, how this edge stitch looks when we make it. We yarn over, pull through 1, essentially making a chain. So you have this inner thread and the 2 outer threads. And that's the anatomy of an edge stitch. And you can always continue to use the stitch marker until you feel totally comfortable. We're just going to move that stitch marker up to be under those 2 outer threads. And that's that. And then just continue with your return pass by yarn over, pull through 2. Again, try and make sure that these are essentially chains, just make sure that they're all the same size. Okay, so I have completed 9 rows here. And if you're not sure what row you're on, you can count these, your side stitches is a great way to count your rows. So we have 1, you have these like V's on the edge, on both edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've completed 9 rows. You have the same over on this side here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is the 9th one here. That's your edge stitch right there. So now you can see that we have, every time you complete a row, you have these little holes here, these little spaces. And those spaces get closed up when you make the next row. So in Tunisian crochet, when we're finished with a piece, what we need to do is a bind off to close up those rows and to make that finished off and look pretty. And when we do that, we're going to have these nice V's on every single edge. So all we do, you can do different types of bind off. You can bind off with single crochet and anything you like, but the traditional bind off is just with slip stitch bind off. So the way that we do that is we go as if we're going to make a simple stitch. So we go under that second bar. Okay, this would be like your first bar. This is the second bar. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and then we're just going to pull the loop through the loop on our hook, slip stitch. So we're going to do that all the way along. Go under, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull it through the loop on your hook. As with anything with slip stitching, you want to just keep those stitches a little bit loose, you know, not super loose, but just slip stitches can have a tendency to become tight. And since we are going to be working with them, we don't want them to get overly tight. So just keep them from getting too tight. All right, and then here we are at our edge stitch. I don't have a marker in here, but you can see we have the inside thread and the 2 outside threads. 1, 2. Just going to go under those 2 outside threads and pull up our last stitch and slip stitch it. And then we're just going to chain 1, cut the yarn, and pull that through. Okay. And there is our square. And you might notice that it's a little bit wider on the side where you start than your ending side. And that's okay. There's like a natural bias that happens in Tunisian crochet, even when you're really careful. So we fix that at the end with just some blocking. And also when we do our next step, it's gonna kind of help straighten it out a little bit too. Okay, so now we're gonna make our border, and this we're going to do in regular crochet. So actually, let me show you the chart of how this is going to work. Okay, so let's take a look at the chart. So we started off with 10 chains, that's these green circles here, and we did our 10 Tunisian simple stitches. This one here was always that first loop on our hook, and then we did 9 rows. But something a little interesting happens with Tunisian crochet, and that is when you switch over to regular crochet, you kind of lose this stitch here on the end. So I'll show you that in a moment, what I mean by that. Actually, I can show you right here. So this is the bottom, this is where we started, and this is the top. So this is our bind off. And even though we had 10 stitches, you'll see that we have 9 of these slip stitch chains here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then on our 2 sides, we have 9 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then on the bottom, something similar kind of happens. Even though we did our 10 chains, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This little guy right here was our 10th chain, and we're not gonna use that because it becomes kind of unusable, and we actually don't want to, because we want 9 stitches on all 4 sides. And of course we have 9 on this side as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach, oh, and these blue dots represent the bind off in slip stitch. So we're going to attach our trim yarn, and we're going to have 1 chain, and then we're going to do 9 single crochets across, and in the last one we're going to do 2 single crochets. So we're going to have a total of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then this 10th one will become our corner single crochet, and then we're going to do that on each side. We're going to have 9 single crochets plus a 10th one in the same stitch. Along the bottom, 9 single crochets plus 2 in this one here. And again, this one I just showed you, this becomes all like kind of a little dead chain. It becomes all so tight you can't use it, and we don't want to use it. And then the same on this side here. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we're going to attach our yarn. You can use a slip stitch to make a loop, or you can just pull it through, which is what I'm going to do. You're going to go into that first slip stitch from the top. This is part of the reason why I said make sure you don't make them too tight. And we're going to take that yarn, put it over our hook, and just pull that through. And I'm going to crochet over this tail as I go. So I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to do a single crochet right into that same slip stitch there. I'm going to go back in there. I'm going to have the tail on top of my hook there so I can work it in. I'm going to pull up this loop, snug it up by pulling on my finger, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and that's our first single crochet. Then I'm going to go into the next one, the next slip stitch, get that tail there to work it in, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, single crochet. And I'm going to do that all the way down in each of these slip stitches. Till we get to the end. And when we get to the end one, we are going to make 2 single crochets into the last stitch. And we're going to count just to make sure that we're on track. So here we are at the last stitch. So far we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good, we're on track. We're going to go into this last one. And we're going to make 9 and 10. That 10th one is going to be our corner stitch. So now I'm just going to do the same thing along the next side. And I'll probably just cut this one here. And I'm going to work in this tail. So you don't have that many things to sew in at the end. So I'm going to go into this first end stitch, have the tail on top of my hook so I can work it in, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 to make a single crochet. I'm going to go into each of these end stitches. They're pretty easy to see. Continuing to work that tail underneath the stitches. All right, let's count our stitches here. So we had our 2 here, 1, 2. So we start counting here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 1 more end stitch right there, and that's where we're going to do 2 single crochets into that same space. So there's 1, and there's 2. So that's our corner stitch. So I'm going to cut the yarn on that one. Now we're going to start on our bottom edge. Here's our first stitch right here. Okay, so I'm going to go underneath that one. I'm going to work in this original tail while I make these ones. I'm going to snug up on that loop so that all my stitches are the same size. Get that tail down. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our first single crochet. Here is our next stitch right here. These might be a little tight. Just take your time. Okay, we're going to go into each of these along the bottom. You see we're going in under these V's here at the bottom. Those were our original chains. Okay. This one should be our last one here. Let's count them up. So we come back here. This is where we had 2. 1, 2. So we start counting here for this bottom edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. So now we want to do our second one into that same space to make our corner stitch, single crochet. I'm going to cut this yarn now. And then we're going to do along this side. So here's, you can see these V's, and there'll be 9 of them. So I'm going to start right here in this one here. Go under those 2 V's and make a single crochet. We're going to do that in each of these stitches. This is one of the nice things with Tunisian crochets. It's very easy to put a border on it. It's very easy to go into these edge stitches and the beginning stitches and your bind off stitches. Like everything kind of, you're not having to guess. It's just right there. So this is our last one. We're going to do 2 stitches in there. Okay, that's our corner stitch, and let's just count it just to make sure. Here is our 2 stitches. 1, 2. So we're going to start counting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so we're going to join with a slip stitch to this first single crochet. And then I'm just going to chain 1, cut the yarn, and pull that through. When it comes time to putting these all together, that place where you tightened up, make sure that that's going to be a stitch that you're going to be going into. So, and also this one here. So look how pretty that is. So it's a little bit less you know, off kilter now that we've added the edging. You can kind of massage it to get it into that perfect square shape. And now we're going to put them all together. Okay, so let's just take a look at the chart first before we start putting these together so that we know where we're going. So here's here's one of our squares, and here is the edge of another square. All right, I didn't fill the whole thing in. We don't need that. I have the edge squares in black so that they stand out. Sorry, not the edge squares, the edge single crochets, the edge stitches. Or sorry, not the edge, the corner stitches. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do this really pretty slip stitch join between the 2 sides. So you're going to start with the 2 corners, and then you're going to, it's going to match up along with all of your single crochets until we get to the last 2 edge corner stitches. And then we will actually have 2 other squares, one here and one here. And when we do these stitches, I'll show you how we handle the corners. All right. So before I begin putting these together, I'm just going to sew in the last tail of each of these. All right, so then you want to figure out how you want them arranged. you know, that's up to you. But one thing that you will want to do is have all have them all going in the same direction. So you can tell, looking at this one here, this was our edge stitch. There's always like a little bit difference. So this is the top, this is the bottom, this is the top. The right hand side looks a little bit more together, and on the left hand side you have a little bit more, just a tiny little bit more of a gap. I don't know if you can kind of see that. All right, so you want them all oriented in that same direction. So that's the first thing to do is, so this one would go like this, and this one, you can see the little bit of openings on this side, and the openings and the openings. All right, and then get them in the order that you like, and then we're going to start. Okay, so this is the order I'm going to use, and the first thing we want to do is we want to find our corner stitches on the first two squares. So we're going to do that by locating the place where we have two stitches in the same spot. So that's right here. So here we have one of those stitches, and here we have the second one. So that means this is our corner stitch. If you want, you can mark it with a little stitch marker, and then we're going to want to find that on this side. So here is where we have our two stitches. So that means that this one here is our corner stitch. So I'll put a little stitch marker there. And you could even do that on, you know, up here as well. With these other ones, if you want to help you keep track. But if you're good at just spotting it, you don't, it's not something that you have to do. All right, so I'm going to take these out. So now I know where they are. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our yarn and we're going to make a slip stitch. So we fold it over, pull a loop up through the center, and tighten it. And I've got my two corner stitches here. And what we're going to be doing the whole way is we're only going to be working into the outer thread of the V. So you can see each of these stitches has a V. You have your I'm calling it the inner because it's like in between the inner and the outer, but it's this one here. Maybe that's the outer one, but it's this furthest one on the edge. I guess we should really call it the outer one. You're going to work into this outer thread here on each of these stitches. All right, we're not going to be working into both, just the outer one. And I'm going to show you here why we're doing that. And that is so that we have this nice line here that comes about when we only work into the outer thread. You can see it a little bit here, all around. And it just has it makes a nicer look so that you can actually see this trim edge color more. If you had gone under both of them, you'd be missing a lot of color there. Okay. Okay, so now that we have our slip stitch, what we're going to do is we're going to go into that outer thread on each of these 2 stitches. So that's 1, and then here's the other corner stitch. And now I'm going to put the loop back on my hook, and I'm going to pull it through both of those. Get the tail coming down this way. All right, and now what we're going to do is, let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit more. Is we're going to go into this outer thread here and this outer thread on the next stitch on each of them. So we're going to go in 1, and then we're going to go in this one, kind of going from the top down. I'm going to yarn over and pull the yarn up through both of those stitches, and then I'm going to make a slip stitch like that. So we're going to do that again. We're going to go into the outer thread of the next stitch on one side, the outer thread of the next stitch on the other side. Okay. We're going to yarn over, and sometimes you kind of have to fiddle with it to get it to go through. And it will be a little slow at the beginning. You'll get a little faster at it. You'll get some kind of a groove going. And you're just going to do that all along all your stitches. All right, and you'll become a little bit less afraid of breaking it, so to speak, as you go, and less worried about you know, how perfect it is. So we just keep doing that. Go into that outer thread, grab that yarn. You kind of can't turn the hook around, it won't come through. So you got to get under there. Once you get under that one, then you can kind of turn the hook a little bit and pull it through. And then we slip stitch. And you're going to do that all the way up to the corner. Okay, here's something that I did. I let this yarn get in front before I went in here, and that will become a problem. Always make sure your yarn is in the back as you're going into these stitches so that you can then grab it from behind and pull it through. Okay, so here's a great example of what could potentially go wrong. So I've gotten up here and you can see I'm a little bit off, right? So what did I do wrong? I had to kind of go back and figure it out. I'm definitely on the right stitch here, but I actually picked up the wrong corner stitch here. So I need to take this out. and I need to move up one stitch to this one here. I actually put it in the wrong stitch for the corner stitch. So if that happens to you, just go back, no problem, because your corner stitches should match up when you get up to the top, and they weren't for me. So I'll just redo it, that's all. And if you like, you can actually start with the loop already on your hook if you would like to do it that way. Just go into that outer edge and the outer edge. Move the tail out of the way. Grab that yarn, pull it through, and pull it through. Let's get everything kind of tightened up here, and then slip stitch that through. Now we're going to go back and start over. Okay, so I'm approaching my corner again here, and now everything is lined up. So we've got just one more here before we get to the corner stitch. All right, so and this checks out because here I've got 2 stitches, so this is my corner stitch, and over here I have 1, 2 stitches, so this is my corner stitch. I'm right in the right place. So now what I want to do is get these other guys ready to go. I want to make sure that I have them going in the right direction. I want all these lines going in the same direction. I want to make sure that I have, this is my left side, and now I want to make sure I get that correct corner stitch on both sides. So here we have, this is the first stitch right here, and this is the second stitch. So this is my corner stitch right here. Just kind of mark that for a second. And then on this side, we've got 2 stitches right here, 1 and 2, and so that means this one is our corner stitch here, this guy. And I'm going to be going into this outer thread here. So it doesn't want to stay in, this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the first corner stitch here, the outer thread. I'm going to go into the next corner stitch here, and I'm going to do my chain. And now I'm going to just go right into these next ones. I'm going to go in here. Really want to make sure I'm in the right one here. This is 1. Yeah, it's this one here. Okay, so I'm going to go in here. And in this one, get that yarn from the back, get everything kind of pulled up together, nice and tight. Pull the yarn through here, pull the yarn through that one, get it pulled up snug, and then do that slip stitch there. And then we're just going to carry on with the rest, just like we did before. Going in the outside stitch, yarn over there in the back, pull it through both, and slip stitch. And you'll get into a little bit of a groove. As you do it, you'll figure out like the best way to hold everything. It doesn't need to be like a lot of movement, I think is kind of helpful. If you can do it on a flat surface like this, I think helps. I guess you could even do it like on your lap. Get that yarn in the back. So I'll meet you at the next corner. Okay, so here I am at the second to last stitch. Oops. There we go. And then we've got our corner stitches here. So this is where we did 2 stitches here and here. So this is our corner stitch, and over here we've got 2 stitches, 1 and 2. So this is our corner stitch. So I'm going to go into this outer thread here and this outer thread here. So that outer thread and then this outer thread, these are the corner stitches. And then just going to chain 1. And I'm going to I'm going to chain 1 more, and I'm going to cut my yarn there because I'm not sure if I'm going to need that or not. So now what you're going to do is we're going to do the other side. So we're going to find the corner stitch over here. I'm going to make a slip knot. So let's find our corner stitch here. Here's where we have 2 stitches. So we've got so this one goes with these 2 V's here. This one goes with these 2 V's, and this one goes with the second 2 V's. So this one here is our corner stitch, so I'm going to just mark this outer thread. And then on this side, I can see it better when I turn it this way. Here I can see the stitches a little easier. Here's the first crochet and here's the second one. So this V goes with the first one and this V goes with the second one. It's always the V that goes with the stitch on the right side comes a little bit before the V part. Okay, so the top V's of this stitch come before it or to the right of it. So here we have 1, 2, so we have this is 1 and this is 2. Okay, so this is our corner stitch. once you have those, then everything like will work out. So I'm gonna get my yarn behind everything. See, it's back here. And now I'm going to go into this outer thread that we marked, and this outer thread that we marked, and this is a little bit trickier because you've got this already stitched up, but you can do it. We're going to just pull that up a little tight so that we don't have things looser than they should be. Yarn over, pull through that first thread, pull through the second thread, and do our slip stitch. Outer thread, outer thread, yarn over, pull it through, and slip stitch. Outer thread, outer thread, yarn over, and pull through, and slip stitch. So I'll just let you watch me do this so that in case it's helpful to you. Just takes a little bit of patience. Just going into those outer threads. At some point you might have to kind of turn, get through that first thread, through the second thread, and the slip stitch. So as you go, you kind of are going to be reorienting, figuring out how to hold the work. Oops, I think I came out of that stitch. Go back in that thread. Get that tail out of the way. So I'm going to grab that yarn in the back and come through that thread, come through that thread, slip stitch. Grab it in the back, pull it through one, pull it through two, slip stitch. Grab yarn over, pull through one thread, through two, slip stitch. Do I have that whole thing? No, I was missing a little thread there on that guy. There we go. Getting into that outer thread. Grab the yarn in the back, pull it through one thread, pull it through the next one, slip stitch. Get this one. And here's where our little knot was, so it's a little bit harder to see. It's right under here, okay? So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go in here, right in there. Grab that yarn, pull it through that thread, pull it through this one, slip stitch. All right, so now we are at our corner stitches again, and we're just going to do them on top of this line. So I'm going to go back into the same corner stitch here and then over here. Yarn over, pull through both of those, and then I'm going to go back into the corner stitch here and the corner stitch here. Yarn over, pull through, pull through. There we go. We made it across the hardest crevasse there of this project. Okay. And now we'll just continue up on the next square. So we're going to go here and here. Slip stitch. And this is just the rest of this you know how to do, so I'm going to speed this up. Okay, so here we are back up by the corners, and I've got I've got my little knot here, so I want to make sure I find the right place to put this next stitch. So this is my corner stitch here, this one. And on this side, we have our 2 stitches in here. So this is one, this is the corner stitch here. So, and I have 1, 2 stitches before the corner stitch. And here I have 1, and this second one has gotten kind of really tightened up, so I need to kind of loosen that up a little bit. It's here. I'm just going to kind of pull that out a little. It got kind of tightened up somehow. So I'm just going to pull that out, go in there. Here. This is the next one here. This guy right here. Okay, and then our corner stitches. Oops, sorry about that, guys. Here and here. Those are our last corner stitches. Okay. So now I'm going to chain 1 and take these stitch markers out. And I'm going to cut the yarn, pull that through. All right, now we're ready to do the outside edging. And that is going to be very similar to this inside edging, except we're going to continue with working only in the outside, working only in these outside threads of each stitch. So I kind of made a mistake. I should not have cut my yarn there, but that's okay. I'm going to just reattach it. If you do, all right, so when you do this magic join, you want when you tie this little knot, you want the tail to come this way. All right, so like that, coming out this side. All right, that's on one side. Now you're going to pull that really tight. really tight. And then you're going to take this side and you're going to make a knot, and you want the tail going this way, the other way. And we're going to pull that real tight, real tight. Then you're going to take the two ends and pull those together to the two knots come right together. And then you can just snip off these tails like so. All right, so now what we can do is we can begin actually begin right here. So we're just going to chain one, and we're going to start with a actually let's do it on this side. Pull up the loop, and we're going to go into this corner stitch on the other side as well, and we're going to make our single crochet right there. All right, that's your first one. So we're going to kind of have a single crochet in this center here, and then one in each stitch. So remember, we're going to work into the back loop of each stitch and make single crochets. So you just work into that outside back loop of each of these stitches, and you're going to single crochet all the way around. And then when we get to the corner stitch, which is this one here, okay, this is where I have two single crochets. You're going to just do 2 single crochets into that spot. 1, 2, and then pick up the next stitch along the next side. And again, the whole way just working in single crochet. Okay, so now we're at another join area. So we're just going to go into one edge of that corner stitch, pull up a loop, and then go into the next edge of that same corner stitch, pull up a loop, and so it's kind of like 2 crochets together. You're kind of joining them that way. Then we go in, and I'm just going to work in my tails along the way. And on this corner stitch here, we're going to do 2 single crochets to make another corner. And then we just pick up on the next edge. And depending on the yarn that you're working with, if you feel like you need 3 in the corner, you can certainly do that. With this yarn, I'm just only needing 2. So we just continue along. All right, so here we are coming up again on another join area. So let's get these crochets in, single crochets. And then when we get to these two corners, we're going to do 2 single crochets together. So you go into one, pull up a loop, go into the next one, pull up a loop, and then pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And then just carry on with the next stitches. And just, you know, working your tails along the way. And by doing it this way, you have very little to sew in at the end. It's really pretty awesome. Really just like 1 for each of the squares, and then should be like just 1 for this large square when we have it all done. All right, here is our, coming up on our next corner. So this is the first of these 2, this is the second one, so this is our corner stitch. So we're going to do 2 single crochets into that corner. Do the next edge. Okay, here we are approaching another join. So we've got 1 more stitch here. And now we're going to take those 2 corner stitches and do a 2 single crochets together in there. So let me show you that again. You go into the first one, yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the second one, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. And then just finish up this last little section here. I guess we have 1 more corner to go. All right, and here we are at another corner. We've got 1, 2 stitches. This is the corner stitch here. So I'm going to do 1, 2. We're almost there. You can see I've just crocheted over all my tails. I'll only have this last tail to sew in here at the end. Okay, and here we are back where we started. If you feel like you need to put another stitch in there, you can, or let's see how this looks. We just join it here. Yeah, that's right. So, so then we join with a slip stitch there to the first stitch. I don't know if you guys saw that. This was our first 2 crochets together. Go into that stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, and slip stitch it. Chain 1, cut the yarn, pull it through, and let's lift up here. This guy is done. So then you can just block it when you're done to get it, you know, into the perfect square shape. I mean, it's already pretty good. I mean, for my purposes. Some people are really exacting, but how awesome is that? So I just want to show you a slight variation. This is the one we just made. This first one I made, you can see, is a little bit smaller because I only did 8 rows in each of the little squares. So, you know, that is something you can play around with if you want to. Okay, so here we have 4 coasters with 3 different types of finishing. These two have no edging on them. This one was finished with a single crochet edging in the back loop, and you know how to do that from making the trivet. This one here has a slip stitch edging, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. And if you wish, you can choose some other edging. So let's take a look at how to do the slip stitch edging. Okay, so to make the slip stitch edging, we have our edging yarn. I'm going to make a slip knot, a little bit of a tail for sewing in, and I'm going to make it not too tight, take it off my hook. I'm going to go to this first stitch right here, and I'm going to go into the outside loop or the back loop. I'm going to pull that through, and actually I went through, I missed a thread there. So pull that through, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch in the back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull it through the loop on the hook, and that's our first slip stitch. And we're going to do that in each of these back loops, making sure that the slip stitches aren't too tight, because if they're too tight, it will it'll scrunch up the project. So it's pretty easy. You're just going to go around. It's just the corners. I'm going to show you this one little thing that we do when we get to the corner, because you can't really slip stitch into a corner stitch twice. So what we're going to do instead is we're just going to chain one. That's like our little increase, and then just go to the next stitch, and so on. So you just do that all the way around, and when you get to the corner stitch, either before or after that corner stitch, it doesn't matter if it's before or after, just put it where it looks like it needs to be. So as we approach this next corner, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this next one is the corner stitch, and I guess maybe I'll put the chain here and then go into this one. Again, it doesn't matter where you put it. So just go all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end. All right, so here we are at the end, and I think I'm going to do my chain one after this corner stitch. But you might have to just play with it to get the right placement. The other thing I can do here is I can just do another slip stitch into the first one, which is what I think I'll do here, instead of doing like just a chain one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this invisible join. So you take the loop off your hook and go back through this first slip stitch here. I'm going to go under both loops of the V. Put that yarn on, that loop back on your hook, and pull it through. And then you're just going to chain one, cut your yarn and pull that through and tighten that up. Okay, and there you go. That's the slip stitch edging. And then you'll just sew in your tails. So just for reference to see the difference of the two. So it's up to you. You might want to have them match your trivet with the final edging, or you might want to leave them without it. But yeah, so that's it. And then just sew in your tails. Lastly, if you love making trivets or washcloths, I am coming out with an ebook with all trivets, all fun, beautiful, interesting trivet ideas that are great for beginners and just as much fun for experienced crocheters. So I will have as soon as that's available, I will have a link to that in the description below. And the way that that's going to work is it's going to start off with, I think it's about 10 different patterns. And over the year, I'm going to be adding to it. If you purchase the ebook, you will get automatic updates every time I add another trivet pattern to that ebook. So you can check out the details of that below. And if you wanted to make it into a placemat, you could just do another, I guess probably like 4x3 would probably make a nice placemat size, or even 3x5, but probably 3x4 would be good. And you would just do these crisscrosses, the inside, and then the single crochets around the outside. So if you like this pattern, please give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and also subscribe over at my website, because I have things beyond pattern tutorials. I have yarn reviews, I have yarn deals that I bring to my subscribers. Sometimes I will just randomly have free PDF patterns for my subscribers, for my newsletter subscribers. So the link for all of that is in the description of this video. Maybe share this with a friend. Give me a comment below. Let me know if you like it, and I'd also really love to see your version. So in the description below is a few different ways where you can show me your pictures. One would be to send me a picture through my contact page on my website. Another great way is to tag me on Instagram, which is at LightandJoyDesigns. That link is below. And then a really great way is to join my Facebook group, and there you can post pictures, and I'd love to see your picture. So if you want to hashtag this, it's 4squaretrivet, hashtag 4squaretrivet. And thanks for joining. We'll see you again real soon. Take care. Bye.